Today I'm here for a fire chat with an outstanding professional who I have known since 2003. And I have few stories to share with you. These stories reflect on the competency, character, charisma of this leader that he brings on the table. And I'll give you some examples, and I'm going to ask some questions to all of you right now. So pay attention. Have you ever seen a professional closing a transaction of 750 crore rupees without negotiations? Is there anybody in this room who has cut a single check of 750 crores without negotiations? Is there anybody? Do I see anybody here? This man spent at the last hour of closure of a transaction with me, and he said, Sanjay, I want this land. Come to my office. So I go and meet him. And then he says, 7 acres, Mafatlal Mills, Baikula, kitne mein bechta hai? I said, I've done the math. A developer will make 20% IRR on conservative assumptions. If somebody reputed comes with a brand like you, maybe higher. He does quick back of the envelope calculation, and Mr. Ajay Piramal, Mr. Mafatlal, myself, Mr. Khushru, we meet up at Four Seasons when we close 750 crores without negotiations. At the peak of the crisis of NBFC, I go and meet him. I was in trouble with my previous company. A land aggregator was selling land to me. He had no money to close. A land aggregator who had no financial track record, no institutional lending, needed only 150 crore rupees. How much? 150 crore rupees. This gentleman looks at the merit of the case and the fact that a credible buyer is standing firm to buy this land. Why should not I lend him? And he cuts out a 140 crore check at the peak of the financial crisis and closes the deal. What I'm sending you as a message is we are not talking about a professional who understands real estate, who has demonstrated leadership, he has demonstrated charisma, he listens to people, he has a solution for every problem, and he's demonstrated that solution. He believes in action. He is decisive. He's a doer. And that is what has made this journey in last 2 years, no matter how difficult and how painful they are, you always have a hope that you will find a solution with this person. So please put your hand together to bring this gentleman, Mr. Khushru Jijina, on the stage for his outstanding contribution. Thank you so much for coming, sir.
Oh, thank you. In fact, after a long time, I have heard something good in these 9 months.
Thank you. Thank you.
In fact, before we start, I want to share that 20 years ago, when somebody had called me and said that Sanjay Dutt wants to meet you. And I was delighted that the actor Sanjay Dutt wants to meet me. And later I realized it was this Sanjay Dutt from Cushman who had come to Piramal Towers to lease our premises.
That's not what the receptionist said to me. She was very excited. Thank you so much, sir, for joining.
Come.
Please. Yeah. We're going to make sure that we make the most of the time, so I'm going to get started immediately. So how has the last 9 months, in your opinion, been?
So I can see that the our session is just before lunch and everybody looks tired. जो भी बचे हैं इधर, probably waiting के last question कभी तू पूछ लेगा. So I thought that, and especially after the last previous 11 people talking all serious business, I think let me start with a joke. Many people ask me कि real estate और तेरा हाल क्या है? I say it reminds me, many of you would remember those old movies where, you know, we had this villain called Ajit.
Yes.
So he used to, you know, say, have this dialogue कि इसको liquid oxygen में डाल दो. Liquid उसको जीने नहीं देगा, oxygen उसको मरने नहीं देगा. ये हाल है अभी अपना.
That's what we're talking about, liquidity.
Coming to the serious answer, I think last 9 months has been nothing but learning. And clearly it has taught me the most important learning besides many is that perception is reality.
Yeah.
Because as Sanjay, I don't know whether you have heard me saying many times that our industry anyway is a victim of perception. Part of it may be true, but many of the people paint it with one brush. And actually I was also a victim of that because we being one of the largest funders of real estate, when this whole mayhem broke off with ILNFS and DHFL, in September, October, nobody was ready to lend to me.
Correct.
They said, "Ki you are lending to real estate, we don't want to even talk to you." And it was over this 9 months hard work that we actually started raising money back again. And today, till today, we actually raised more than 20,000 crores.
Fantastic.
So that is something which we did.
Yeah.
But I think the silver lining for me was this 9 months really tested this whole partnership model which we keep on talking. In between, Manisha who's sitting there reminded me that in Credai Netcon you had said, "Ye dosti." Where is your ye dosti? She had asked me this question recently. And this is what the silver lining, that in spite of going through trouble, I can tell you today very happily that we ensured that each and every of our existing developer, we ensured that their construction continued. We ensured that because it's very important in real estate, which NBFCs and banks don't understand, that if the construction stops, everybody's money is at stake.
Got it.
I think that's a very simple thing which we followed to ensure that people get their money. I think the other thing which I can share was that we keep on talking that we are partners and not lenders, that it gave us an opportunity with a lot of our developers to really look at the balance sheet and see what we can do so that to make them future ready.
Yeah.
So just to give a point in case, a developer in North itself, now he has various types of assets, hotels, commercial, residential, and we have been lending to all the three. Now obviously the money is stuck, chakka jam, as you know. So how do we do that? So unlike many NBFCs, you know, who will pull back the money or just get refinance and get out, what we did, we actually refinanced one of his assets, ourselves, so that we get more money, use that more money to give it to him for working capital so he completes the last mile funding for his residential. So it was a win-win-win. At the end of the day, I always say this, that if you get the cash in the system and ultimately complete the projects, that is what something will benefit everybody. You just can't pull out. I think that was the other example I can give you.
So I think it's a role model for almost every financial institute in a way. If they can really partner, understand the issue, restructure if they need to, lend the last mile help, we can actually come out of the situation.
Absolutely, because I have always said this. Yes, there have been situations, especially in the north, where the equity has been wiped out.
Yeah.
But I think 70-75% of the projects, the equity is not wiped out. And I have always said this, that in fact, if you do it right, it is the safest industry.
True.
Because you have real assets. What happens when you lend to a factory? What are you going to do with that?
Yeah.
So to that extent, we have always believed in that. And in fact, I can just add one more silver lining, which is one of my favorites, that in this last 9 months, the other thing which I liked was a lot of people came to me in distress, our developers, even unannounced, because I'm sure the pressure, the tension was so much. And actually I felt very good, because I always believed that only during bad times, who comes first to your mind? Your partner, your friend.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we were very happy with that. So that was
So
how we
you
have...
made a very important point. You're saying the industry actually has recognized and embraced that the situation calls for distress-related decisions, which itself is a big thing. When will you think this liquidity situation will change?
So I think it's a good question. But before I answer that, I think we should get it all. I'm sure the previous panelists also spoke about it. But in a very simple language, I believe that India cannot afford for a long time both NBFCs and real estate to be in pain. That is a fundamental belief of mine. Why? Because let's look at the math. If you look at FY18, 60% of the incremental funding to both MSMEs and real estate actually came from the NBFCs.
Yeah.
Right? And second, let's look at real estate. I've been saying it for the last so many years. 18% of the employment of this country is through real estate, supports more than 350 industries. It's not a joke. And 6% of the GDP comes from real estate. So if these two are in pain, I see no reason why India will grow. In fact, I think that's a doomsday scenario.
Yeah.
So that gives me the confidence, and the recent, anyway, the announcements of the PM makes me feel very confident that ultimately things have to come back. However, I have a rider, this is my view, I have been saying this for a long, long time. Just because liquidity comes into the system, I do not see whether it's NBFC or the developers all coming back. I think what we have been saying for the last 3 years, that there will be massive consolidation. We have been saying it for the last 3 years, which you are seeing now.
Yeah.
So only those developers who have, moved on as with corporate governance and have been in that 10% bracket, which I call, will get the funding. And I think there's a massive consolidation happening in the NBFC space, which you will see. So that's
good news.
Definitely going to happen. In fact, I just want to add one more point. I've been hearing in the press, Neredco, Credai, meeting the government and saying that tell the banks to fund. I think in my humble opinion, that's a flaw. Banks cannot fund developers beyond a point because it's not a bankable product as per the Reserve Bank guidelines. What we need is banks to fund the NBFCs because actually this is an NBFC product. Why is the auto sector today suffering? Similar reason, because it was backed by NBFCs. So that is one thing which needs a shift.
And what will make that shift, in your opinion?
I think it is very simple. Today there is enough liquidity. Everybody spoke about it in the past panel also. It's just a matter of confidence. I think thanks to the ILNFS and DHFL episode, banking circle and the financial sector, they have lost confidence in the NBFCs, especially in the real estate space. I think it's just a matter of confidence. People have to segregate the men from the boys, and it's a matter of time. Very early to say, but we have actually, after the announcement of the government, seen the green shoots. We have started seeing long-term money coming back from the banking circle to us, to the NBFCs. But I think, I don't want to be over-optimistic. It will take a while. But I think it's just bringing the confidence back. I'm a firm believer. It's just it's a sentiment. Our whole industry goes on sentiment.
But you must have seen some trends. And you interact with global investors. You interact with retail investors. You interact with all the developers. So I'm sure that'll be very interesting.
So let me summarize what we believe is happening and the shift in the way real estate is moving. I'll summarize it into 4 trends. One is, I would call consolidation to corporatization. I think we have been the platform which has been speaking from the last 3 to 4 years. Many developers are not been happy with us. We have been saying that most of the developers will be in pain if they don't shift their way of working, because the whole industry has moved through this change. We have been seeing it for the last 3 years.
So true, actually.
So what do I mean? I think I said it in Credai also, that ultimately the developer community has to move and work as an FMCG company. The customer taste, which is changing so fast, the customer at the center of the business has to happen. Approvals are important, but not the only thing.
Correct.
I think that's a big shift in the real estate industry. The second is cutting down cost. Because at the end of the day, the margins in the good old days were so high, nobody was really bothered about the cost. And today, like an FMCG who is selling each biscuit, will have to cut down the cost. Now, if you don't ruthlessly cut down the cost, the margins are not there in real estate. Now, many developers, when I interact, they said, "Bhai, kya kare? How do we bring down the cost?" No, I find this it's something that it's not impossible.
Yeah,
it's not
it is possible.
Because, to give you an example, the other day I saw a movie that if Indians can go to Mars, it can send the satellite to Mars in 478 crores, why the hell developers can't look at the cost and bring it down?
Fair point.
It's very simple.
Fair point.
So I think this is the first thing which I would say, that if they want to move on, I think they will have to treat it as an FMCG company. It's no more the same typical old real estate. I think the second is technology. Nobody's speaking about technology in real estate. I think having contributed today to 6% to GDP, somehow we are the last. I think in this industry we are the last to adopt technology. Actually, I'm actually surprised that why, we keep on disruptions. Last 3 years we are talking disruption by RERA, disruption by demonetization, GST. And now many people are talking disruption will come in technology. But why are we not looking at it differently? Why not adopt technology in advance and use it to your advantage for a change? Again, why are we waiting for the disruption to come? Today, frankly, it helps your business. Whether it's virtual reality, augmented reality, your data analytics, whatever you use.
Especially in a country where the cost of capital or doing business is so high, they have to.
Absolutely. So why are we not embracing technology now and waiting for technology to disrupt? Is something which I would like to ask the developers.
I think they're slightly busy right now, making sure they send you the check.
But coming back, again here in technology, somehow I found most of the developers think technology means giving some gadgets in the house. That's not technology. In fact, smart homes are now transformational homes. So you will need to look at technology, whether it is in residential or commercial going forward. So I think my second trend
it's a good point.
Is technology, which nobody is speaking about, unfortunately. The third is evolving taste of the customer. I think, Sanjay, you will now agree as a developer, customer is king. Few years ago, developer was the king. Now customer is the king. I'm saying again, it's like an FMCG, he is the king. His tastes are evolving. He is no more buying the house based on carpet. I think he needs a lifestyle. Most of the Indians are now traveling abroad. They earn for lifestyle. Again, lifestyle, many developers thought that by giving a swimming pool with or without water. That's not lifestyle.
Correct.
I think it is I think it is much more. I think it's a lifestyle. It could be green building. It could be anything. But I think that's what, again, I'm coming back to the point. What is it that the customer wants is what is the third trend which I see which will be required. The fourth and very important now is long-term financing and also a difficult one. And I'll tell you why.
Long-term financing because you end up making more money or?
No, I'll tell you why. Because today, again, like the international standards, the way the business is happening, I see this trend happening now in India, that the cash flow to the developer is coming late. It's no more you break the ground and the cash flow comes. Those days are gone.
Fair point.
So if you do not have financial closure from day one, you are doomed from day one. So that means you
as a track record,
so you require equity,
discipline,
you require construction finance, you require home finance.
Correct.
Now, why I said difficult? Because unfortunately today in India, let me put this on the table, it's very easy for me to speak. But unfortunately today, the traditional bankers and lenders are not equipped or geared up for that. Now, what are we going to do for that? I don't have a full answer. As far as we are concerned, yes, we have already, as you know, in the last 3 years, we have always worked on innovative products. We will have to come with some solution for the developer that from equity to right from housing finance, which we do have today. We will be able to provide. But I think we alone cannot satisfy the needs of the market.
You're right.
So many of the other lenders or say foreign lenders will have to come in and look at an end-to-end solution. So these are the 4 trends which I see which will happen for real estate to survive and go forward.
Thank you.
But you know, Sanjay, I have a little naughty question. I heard even Amit Dewan, I don't know whether he's still there, he has left, but you know, he said that, you know, the Godrej's, the Mahindras, the Tatas, and this has become a buzzword. Corporates have now entered. Don't mind my saying, but I am a firm believer that this is a very local game. See, let's not forget with all these good things we are talking about, that approval, managing government, which is a very interesting partner of real estate, still continues to be there. So how is it that the corporates will succeed? Or is it just becoming a buzzword and then again you guys will go back again out of real estate?
Very good question. I'll answer first about myself. I was very fortunate that I was born in Delhi and last 21 years lived in Bombay. And then I had 2 years stint in Bangalore. So I'm covered, Khushru. I'm a local guy in each of these 3 markets. But having said that, I have seen since 96 corporate developers entering the real estate market and failing miserably. And I tell you why. I remember with all the good governance and access to capital and cheap capital and very smart solutions, etc., fundamentally, they could not grow to a scale which beyond 2-3 cities becomes impossible to do. That's my take. Unless you build the organization in such a way that you have regional, local companies with equivalent of CEO empowered in that local market who breathes, thinks, executes like a local development company, the corporate will find it very difficult to actually pull this off. I've seen corporates in 95. I've seen new corporates entering, not to mention Piramal Realty as a corporate also entered in real estate. I've seen infrastructure companies, contractors, with the exception of few who have succeeded, there are more failures than successes that we've seen. Having said that, I have a different angle. I believe every local developer has the capability of becoming a corporate. We should not be talking about corporate becoming successful developers. I think you said it earlier also, that you have to have the corporate culture. And if the local developers can take away the meaningful aspect of what the corporate is, it means professional management, no emotional attachment, no ego, no arrogance, humility, basically making sure that you remain focused. If the prices have to be corrected, they have to be corrected. And therefore you have to move like a corporate actually does. So I think they will succeed, and therefore the future of corporate developers is very high because the local developer will become corporates. That's my takeaway.
No, that's a good answer.
Yeah.
I think the only nuance I'll put is that the corporates at the local level will have to work like entrepreneurs, because
Very
this is
true.
an entrepreneur game and
Yeah.
not a corporate game.
Yeah. No, I've oversimplified it.
Yeah.
I know it's not so easy, but I think all the people who are now standing tall in very difficult times doing sales, they've been differentiated. I think, Gitamar is doing outstanding job here. We have many companies in Gurgaon, and companies like Tata and Godrej have to learn from them what local developers need,
True.
in as much as they need from us, I guess. So thank you.
So you spoke about just now a very important point. Real estate is all about optimism,
Yeah.
the developers. Otherwise, if you don't have optimism, I think all of us would be in hospital.
Very true.
And I agree with you. I agree with you.
Let's give proper full-hearted clap to this one.
I will not take more than 5 minutes, so don't worry. We'll be there for lunch in 5 minutes. But, you mentioned this, and I agree with you. For the first time, I have seen, and that worries me more than anything else, that the confidence and the optimism of the developers has been shaken for the first time. You have any answer? How do you deal with that?
I've seen it. I've said it earlier as well. I think platforms like Naretco and Credai have helped putting all of this team together to preserve, I would say, the DNA of the developer. And that DNA is courage, the DNA is vision, because real estate is all about seeing things 10 years from now, 5 years from now. Those qualities, if they are shattered in the long, from short-term point of view, if they somehow can overcome this period of difficulty by partnering with companies and institutions and cutting their losses and moving on, I think their ability to bounce back will be much better. Otherwise, like I've seen, the landscape of developers across 25 years, some of the developers that we were so used to are not there, and that will happen. So I think it has been hurt, but I genuinely believe that it will get restored. And I think the government is listening, with whichever I've heard from our leaders on the sector, they're also listening. And I think I have absolute belief that they will come back. Let me ask you, similarly on these lines, you've always looked at, from the point of view of your support and optimism of the industry. Do you want to say something to our audience today about what you feel?
So yeah, I have continued to be optimistic on this industry. I do believe it's the best asset class to work with.
Do you believe that developers will make 20% IRR on equity?
Yes and no. Yes, if they move to the new trend, as I said.
Yeah.
No, if they continue to work the same way. In fact, it's a very interesting question. In fact, I ask many of my developers, why are you in development? Because it's the risk reward is not there today.
Yeah.
Why, it is much better to be in some manufacturing company. And that is why we will have to, you cannot wait for the government. Yes, the people will help out, but there's nobody to help. I have always told you in the last narrative, you know, I put this song, Jina Ya, Varna Ya. We are all ultimately have to take care of ourselves. Yeah. I've been always saying this, that ultimately don't look outside, look inside. We will have to hold each other's hand and do that. So I remain optimistic, but you know, let me share my pain also in the last 9 months. And this is because, you know, before this 9 months, people might be saying it's very nice for Khushru. He comes on the stage, talks optimistic, gives a lot of bhashan, you know, and tries to motivate every developer. But today I'll give you a live example of the last 9 months. In the 9 months, what have we faced? Again, the same issue as real estate perception. 9 months back, nobody was giving me money because they said, you are related to real estate in such a big way, why would we lend you money? Then how did we get over it? I think the biggest learning is that perception is reality. So it's not good only if you do well. You need to convey that you are doing well and you're different. So we actually went to a lot of banks, including State Bank. This gentleman was there on the stage, but we went to State Bank in Mumbai. We invited the host of big banks to come to our office. We told them that why don't you all spend 3-4 days, look at our portfolio, look at our processes, and then you'll realize that we are not bad. And that's something which we will need to do as a real estate industry, because every day there is somebody writing negative about us.
Correct.
We will have to go back. You understand what I mean?
So you enthused confidence by being transparent and very open, and you invited them to address the issues.
And if the mistakes have been done, let's admit that mistakes have been done.
So takeaway is that you have to confront the bull.
But by just going under the radar today, I think the whole industry has gone under the radar. And in fact, let me tell all of you again, once again, we are to be blamed because we ourselves have forgotten how important we are to this country. We ourselves have forgotten. Why are we waiting for somebody else to come and, take us out? When we ourselves have forgotten how important we are. Again, let me repeat, 6% of the GDP comes from real estate, 18% of the employment of the country, 350 industries. Let's not forget this country got REIT, another asset class for individuals, which the real estate gave. And we are not celebrating about it. We are still keeping quiet. And that's the problem. I think we need to go out jointly and convey even the good things we have done. You know, the lifestyle. We are the third in the world after Canada and China. I don't know how many of our developers know it, of giving LEED certified buildings.
Yeah.
Right?
We are clearly the winners out there.
More than 20 million homes are being made in the non-urban areas.
Yeah.
But we are quiet. We don't say anything. We are under the weather. And that is why this is happening. So I think jointly, whether it's Neredco, Credai, and all of us, why again Neredco, Credai? Why can't we individually do it?
Yeah.
And that's the point I'm making, because it's my own experience in this last 9 months. Why we as an NBFC came out of this problem is because we went front foot, went to the bankers, went to the regulators and said, please look at our book. What is wrong? Please tell us what is wrong. I remember in September when I went to the public sector bank, they said, real estate, we do not want to see it. So that's the shift we could do it. So why can't real estate also do it?
Very well said.
Not just wait for the government to bring about the year. So that is my take. I will end with a quote.
Yes.
That it is by Helen Keller. Optimism is the faith that leads to achievement. Again, the critical word is optimism. Optimism is the faith that leads to achievement. Nothing can be done without confidence and hope. And talking of hope, let me play a very appropriate song to end this session, which is just before lunch.
Thank you. Oh yeah. Thank you. You did it well.
कुछ पाने की हो आस आस, कोई अरमा हो जो खास खास आशाएं, हर कोशिश में हो बार बार, करे दरियाओं को आर पार आशाएं।